evening and welcome to another segment of Inmates for Change. My name is Jones, and as you may well know, I am the CEO and founder of the 501c3 not-for-profit Inmates for Change. We offer re-entry services for individuals who are coming home from prison and those who are still in the community and they're having this burden of this felony conviction trailing them. Excuse me. Coming home from prison a little over 7 years ago, I found that the industry, as far as corporate America, society, and family, these are industries, believe it or not, were going to be a challenge, and I possessed over 27 years professional sales experience, 17 years managerial experience. I ran my own home improvement and remodeling business for 15 years, and I worked the same position as a cable installer for 10 years. And it was still difficult to secure gainful employment. So I'm putting my life's work into helping others who are coming through to successfully transition back into community, family, society, and corporate America. Now at Inmates for Change, we offer a classroom environment curriculum that runs around 12 weeks of critical thinking, forward thinking, short-term realistic goal accomplishment. We do long-range planning. We also offer relationship issues, types of strategies that you can work through. We offer lifestyle change, behavior modification. We have linkage to vocational training. And of course, there is a spiritual God consciousness connection that is a mandatory service. So those of you who are thinking about coming on board with us, let me give you our number. Our contact information is Inmates for Change, 773-746-3075. The website, inmatesforchange.org, and the email, inmatesforchange@gmail.com. All right, those of you who will be getting into our conversation a little later, we're at 312-738-1060. Tonight's topic, ladies and gentlemen, is now that you're here, where are you headed? Let me take a second here and explain what this topic is about. Now that you're here, meaning those of you who have come home from incarceration, or you're finally finished with your parole requirements, and you're trying to readjust and hopefully reintegrate successfully back into community. So where are you headed? And tonight's discussion will be along the lines of the strategic thinking that you want to put together because, again, Inmates for Change, our motto is breaking the bondage of destructive thinking. So here we go. Now that you're here, where are you headed? Well, the first thing we want to come up against when we're doing our transition is we need to make some decisions. I need to decide about what am I going to do and how am I going to do it. These are very important along the lines of successful reentry. I've heard too many times where guys and girls are speaking to me and they're asking, Jones, can you get me a job? And my answer to them abruptly is no. What we do at Inmates for Change is we prepare an individual for career-oriented employment, as well as successful reintegration back into their family, their community, and corporate America. I believe truly you can find your own job, but if you're looking for career-oriented type of employment, then Inmates for Change will offer their services and resources to you. So what am I going to do? What's this decision that I need to make? I need to know what is it that I can do, but I also have to understand is how can I do it? I need to figure this out. I'm going to need to discuss with someone close transportation issues and the expenses that may be incurred. The type of industry demands that whatever vocation I choose will be. A lot of times when people ask, do I know anything about warehouse employment? Sure, I know a lot about warehouse employment, but I also know that you need to be in some kind of physical shape to do warehouse employment because there's a lot of lifting, there's a lot of stacking, and it's a very physically demanding position. So with that, you want to make sure that you're at least physically in shape to meet the demands of that position. Others who have been looking for other positions, let's say you want to work in customer service, well, you need to be good with people. You need to speak well, articulately. You need to have great eye contact. And you need to learn how to read people so that you can see some of the subtle body language signs that are going on. So along the lines of my decision making, I need to decide, what am I going to do? And then how am I going to do it? Most times, if those of you who are out there have loved ones, sit them down and talk with them about what their opinion would be and something that they've heard of. Because the one thing that we want to do as soon as we come home is we want to get back gainfully employed. We really do. We want to get back in. There are thousands of opportunities out there. You see them in the paper, you see them in the computer, you hear about it by word of mouth every day. But if it doesn't suit you, or you don't have this particular skill set to become successfully integrated as well as brought into that position, then you've got some work to do. And that's what tonight's show is about. The second piece I wanted to talk about is options. What are the options? Am I just looking to be just working? Am I going to go back to school and develop my education or increase my education? Am I going to do something along the lines of vocational training? These are questions that need to be asked, I would think, as early as possible. Sometimes when I was incarcerated myself, I started thinking a lot about where I was headed. I had 20-something years in carpentry. I got over 27 years in sales. You know, what is it that I wanted to do? And in all honesty, I thought I would be continuing the business of home improvements and remodeling. But after 2.5 years of inactivity, I found out that physically I couldn't keep up with the demands of the job. So God stepped in and introduced me to this industry, which is social services, and told me this is what he wanted me to do. And so here I am. And this is something I will discuss down a little bit further down in the conversation. Excuse me. Vocational training. There's a vocational training component that happens along the lines of when you're re-entering and where you're heading. And with that, let me tell you guys now, as well as you ladies, any vocational training program that you are attempting to get into, there's a entry exam. They want to make sure that you're able to absorb the information that they'll be conveying. So they want to know it. Let's say you want to go into the joint apprenticeship carpenters program, or you want to become a painter. You need to know how to figure how much space does a gallon of paint, or how much space or material will you need to put framing in a room or put drywall up or that kind of thing. You need to know that kind of math. So going into the vocational training, you need to have an aptitude for math, geometry. You may need to know a little bit about estimates and things of the like. So you got to prepare yourself. And to prepare yourself, you can contact places like Inmates For Change, as well as the other homes and houses that are out there, organizations I should say, as opposed to homes and houses, that offer you some training, job preparedness classes as well, and get you in gear to, you know, successfully transition over to active job search, career orientated type positioning. What are my choices? What choices do I have when I'm starting to come home? All right, we already know we got this X on our back, so our choices are going to be kind of limited. They're not going to be totally excluded, but they're going to be kind of limited. So I might want to consider some of you older gentlemen and women, and as well as some of you entrepreneurial spirited younger individuals who are coming home, you might want to consider opening or starting your own small business. And of course, there is a module in the Inmates For Change piece that offers small business ownership, you know, where we teach you some of the ins and outs and the pluses and minuses about successful ownership of a small business. So these are things that when you come home and you start thinking about, where am I going to be? What do I need to do? How am I going to do it? I first got to decide that I'm going to do it. I need to decide. That's the first thing. If I don't decide to do it, then I'm going to be subject to anything that happens. There's an old adage that there's nothing more powerful on this earth than a made-up mind. And if you check your own file, you'll know that every time you made up your mind, that's exactly what you accomplished. Whether what it was to either you're going to come up today, or I ain't going to be messing with dude and them again today or at all. I'm not going anywhere today. I'm just going to stay home and chill and relax, that kind of thing. Or I'm going to get this job today. I'm going to find me a job somewhere today. Every time you made up your mind, that's exactly what you accomplished. Now, as I'm moving down, I'm going to open up the phone lines at 312, I'm thinking of Inmates for Change, 312-738-1060. And we'll take a call or two and we can get something going. But while I'm talking about that, let me get back to what we were speaking of. Another thing to consider, now that I'm here, where am I headed? I need to consider my future. I also need to consider my past. The thing about my future is I need to reinvent myself so I can become a better person. And when I speak about reinventing, I'm talking about breaking away from all of the old stuff that used to hold me down and keep me from doing things that I knew that were productive and would produce good fruit. You know, I know inherently, as we all do, the difference between right and wrong. So when we get out there and we start doing wrong and we're looking around to see who knows us, and hopefully the report doesn't get back to our people and our loved ones, then that's the kind of thing I'm talking about inherently. You know you're doing something wrong, but if doesn't anyone say anything, then you're going to try to play it off like you are okay doing what you're doing. But you already know inherently, which is down deep inside you, you know it's not right. I need to reinvent myself, so I need to develop new thinking patterns as well as new habits. And I need to start doing that a little bit at a time. Keep in mind, my viewers, none of this stuff happens overnight. You've got to prepare for this thing. Here's a small little, let me just add this in here. I came home January 19th of 2010. I didn't secure employment until November of 2010. That was ringing the bell for the Salvation Army, 2 days a week, 4 hours a day. And I took it. Now, from January to November, I took computer classes that were free at the resource centers that are around the city. I went and took some job preparedness classes. I got caught up with motivational speaking and empowerment seminars and that type of thing. I volunteered for workshops. I went into these organizations that were offering classes and workshops, a week or two, to put together what we call a turnaround package. And the turnaround package is a proof of certificates and certificates of completion of classes or workshops that you have taken since you've been home to show a prospective employer that you have been busy rehabilitating. So maybe up in an upcoming show, I'll bring out the turnaround package so you can get a chance to check that out and see what it's about. I also need to just deliberately stop focusing on my past and start planning for my future. You know, I've got a 50-year buddy who, when I came home, all he would talk about was stuff that he and I did in the 70s, and that was past me at this point, and I was like, it was okay for the first phone call or two, but it got to be such a redundancy of conversation that I had to spread out my calls with him, and I eventually told him that was why I was spreading out my calls, because I'm talking about what we're doing today, not what we did 40 years ago, but of course, there's some resistance, and you're going to have it along people who are used to you being one way. Keep this in mind, those of you who have family members that you're coming home to. They know who left, but they're not sure about who's coming back. And they're going to be watching. And you need to be stepping up so that you can make sure that you successfully reintegrate back into your family, your community, society, and corporate America. Those of you who would like to join the conversation, we're at 312-738-1060. Now that you're here, where are you headed? There's a part of getting started and getting stuck. Now let me explain the difference between both of them. Getting stuck means you're doing the same thing that got you caught up. So you come home feeling that you can go back out there on the grind, using the excuse that there ain't no jobs out there, or I can't find work and don't nobody like me and don't nobody want me and this kind of thing. So I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to start slinging or banging or both again. And I'm going to get the same exact results. incarceration, possibly longer sentencing than I got previously. I may even get hurt or shot or even killed out there, trying to do the same thing again. Then there's the getting started, which means I'm doing something different and it's productive. So we have to understand that me coming home with 27 years of professional sales experience, 17 years managerial experience, I ran my own business in home improvements and remodeling for 15 years, and I was on the same job for 10 years, ringing the bell 2 days a week, 4 hours a day. If my mind wasn't right for it, I would have felt that that was beneath me. And I would have probably tried to end up back out there on the block with Main Dude and Pookie and them. And who knows what would have happened, because I didn't go into prison until I was 53 years old. So 2.5 years later, coming home, and now I've been home 7 years, so you can do the math, figure out about how old I am. And it just wouldn't be a good look. That's it. It just wouldn't be a good look. So I need to know that what I'm doing makes sense. I got to make it make sense. So I need to know that what I'm doing will produce good fruit. So if I'm going out on these job searches and I'm coming home and I don't have any success for the first couple of weeks, I like to use the analogy of being a vacuum cleaner salesman going door to door in a neighborhood. And you got this vacuum cleaner and you're trying to sell it to people who own these homes. Now, you've gotten this sales pitch and you've gotten your little training to do it, and they tell you there's a commission of $250 every time you sell this vacuum. And so you're going from door to door. It's 95 degrees outside in the shade. You're hot, you're on a shirt and tie. You're carrying around this 40-pound vacuum and you're knocking on doors and doors. And no one's opening the door, no one is inviting you in, and no one seems to be interested. So you decide to take lunch and you're sitting around and you're thinking about it. Man, maybe I need to quit this, man. It's too hot. They still got the whole day in front of me. I still got to about 4 o'clock before I can close it down. I've been out here since 9. Let me see what I can do. Well, maybe I'm going to just stick it out because I know my wife or my woman or my people have been on my back about not sticking it out or seeing it through. So let me just give it a shot and see what I can do with that. I go in and knock on some other doors and nothing. And probably around 2 o'clock, someone decides to open their door and they say, I'm so glad you came. I saw you out here this morning and I was hoping that you'd come down here. And she listens and sees the whole demonstration, and you do everything, but she doesn't buy anything. You got a glass of water and you got a chance to get some air conditioning on you, plus you got a chance to practice your sales script. So now, 4 doors down. It's about 3 o'clock now. You're going to call it a day at 5. Knock on someone's door, they invite you in, they see the demonstration, they hear the sales pitch, the price is right, and they say to you, I've got 4 other sisters, and they do everything that I do. I like this product, and I tell you this, I'm going to buy it right now. But one thing I want to ask you is this: can you make it over to my other sisters' homes and sell them this vacuum cleaner today? Now, you got 2 hours to go sell 4 vacuum cleaners of what we call laydowns, where the customers are just ready for you to come, because she's going to call ahead, plus you got a number now. And so you're enthusiastic now. That was a $1,000 day that you had in a commission, and you got ready to quit at noon. So around 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, something happened, and now this gives you enough invigoration to keep it going and even show back up tomorrow. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about, knowing that what I'm doing will produce good fruit. There's also a part where we need to keep time management schedule of our routine. There's a timeline of your day. Let's say your day is 16 hours because you need 8 hours to sleep. Well, in that time, I need to have something segmented out for what am I going to do in my morning, what am I going to do for my afternoons, what am I going to do for my mid-afternoon, what am I going to do for my late afternoon, and what am I going to do for the close of my day as I prepare for tomorrow. This is what we call time management. And this routine needs to become, just like I said, routine. Something that you do every day. Once you start doing it, it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, it becomes part of the behavior modification. And once you start modifying your behavior, then you know things are starting to change. And don't be ashamed to have your family or your loved ones involved in your planning, because we need them as not only sounding board, but we need them for support. You need to have someone who knows what you're doing and they're believing that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing because you said that you were going to go and do X, Y, and Z things. So do that. Get them involved, and you'll be amazed at how much they want you to succeed by supporting you. Those of you who've been watching my show, you know I gave an analogy, and I do it quite often. But there's one where the coach of the football team, the defense is out on the field, and they intercept the ball and running it back, and the coach is running down the sideline, go, 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 yeah, run, run. That's how your family is. That's how your loved ones are. They're just not as exhibiting this type of exuberance for you, but they're all hoping for the best. And keeping them informed about the pluses and the minuses that are happening in your day, on your journey, helps add support because you're getting this kind of thing where when you're doing what you're doing, someone is there who is showing not only support, but they're believing that you can do it. If you feel like calling in, give us a call. I'm going to take a call. It's 312-738-1060. For those of you who would like to contact us after the show is off the air tonight, we're at 773-746-3075. The website, inmatesforchange.org, which shows our resources, services, and what we're about. And we take email at inmatesforchange@gmail.com. So I'm going to finish up. I'm getting close to my time, and I know that this is some good stuff, but there's still more. I need to develop a belief that this will work. And it will work because, as I told you, there is nothing more powerful on this earth than a made-up mind. So if I make up in my mind that I believe this will work, then believe that it will work. And start doing what it takes to make it happen. You know something? Think about this. How many times do you think you said your ABCs before you got a chance to say them all the way through, even with the LMNOP part? Easy, 2,000 times, man, because as a child, you saying them every chance you got. So you got to put the work in. But even as a child trying to learn the ABC, they knew in some kind of way that they were going to get it. They knew they were going to get it. They had to keep doing it so that they could learn how to do it. The other part of that is I have to have this determination to make it work, regardless of what's going on. I may be that vacuum cleaner salesman. I've knocked on all these doors. My knuckles are red and hurting, so I pick up a rock from out of someone's garden, and I use that as my door knocker. And I'm still as enthusiastic and energetic as I was with the first client on the first prospect whose door I knocked on at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and haven't sold anything or got a chance to do a presentation. I've got to keep it fresh. I've got to stay invigorated. I've got to stay positive, and I've got to have the proper mental attitude. I've got to break this bondage of this destructive thinking that this stuff does not work. I've got to find a way to make a way and stay with it because it's going to happen. Those of you who have that loved one in your life, you know, you didn't get that individual on your first go. You know, you had to work at it. And you're still working at it to maintain the relationship. That's the same principle that I'm speaking about when we're using what we're talking about here, when we start with determination. Then there's a discipline. And with this discipline, excuse me, comes the development of my program on a continual basis. Now let me explain to you what that means in short term. I need to have this discipline of developing my program. So you know from whenever you're doing something that after you learn how to do the big points about it, you can start developing your own character and put your own personality into it. Let's just take a sales script, for instance. You get a chance to read some of the information that you're going to be selling, and after you do it so many hundreds of times, you learn how to put some other type of inflection into it and this type of thing. Now, that is part of a program. So with that, I'm saying to you, you got to stick it through because now that you're here, where are you headed? Are you headed back to the same stuff, doing the same thing, and going to get the same results? Or are you headed toward bigger and better things in your life? My name is Jones. This is going to wrap up our time that we have here with you. I'd like to say this program was produced in part by the people at the Mobile Doc. And also, those of you who are just coming home, keep this in mind. Now that you're here, where are you headed? Thank you. Hope to see you on the next show, and I'll be here, I promise you. Have a good night.